You know that feeling when you're talking to someone who just gets you, like a big sister, and who isn't afraid to go deep? And that's exactly how I feel about today's episode. My guest, Ella, is a seasoned consultant, a corporate communication expert, and a podcaster for over 10 years. She knows the wellness industry inside out, and she has undergone a personal transformation on air with her community. Now, in this episode, Ella is going to share what it means for women to truly listen to our inner voice and how to face the harsh reality of life. And there are some really amazing methods involved. And what I loved about her is her joy of life and the genuine desire to support women in the community. And I know you're going to love this episode. So let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Power Project. And I'm so excited today to welcome a very special guest. Her name is Ella Lucas Averett. Am I pronouncing that right?
Well done.
And she's a corporate communication expert, and she's also a wellness expert. And she has a very well-run, long-run podcast called On Air with Ella, and specifically on food, fitness, and personal growth. And I'm so excited to have her on our show today. Hi, Ella.
Hey, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. And I know it's super early in the morning for you over there. And thank you so much for doing this. And, honestly, I look up to you and I just kind of felt like this is a really special moment for me, especially for the podcast. And I'm still a bit of a newbie when it comes to the wellness industry, but you have been in this industry, in this category for a very long time. And yeah, today I would love to pick your brain on how you got into this category, this industry initially, and kind of your thoughts on the evolution of the wellness industry.
Well, yeah, it's been something, hasn't it? There is this evolution of the wellness industry as the behemoth that it is. And then there's my own evolution in this journey, which is a whole different thing. But I started my podcast On Air with Ella over 10 years ago, back when you had to explain what a podcast was.
It's like radio, but not radio.
Yeah, exactly. That was our biggest challenge at the time, was explaining what a podcast was. And I did that, Sherry, because as you said, I make a living in business. I'm a consultant. My training is not in wellness. I'm not certified in anything. I went to business school. My training is in business and entrepreneurship. And I was really, really hustling as co-founder of my consulting firm. And I wanted a creative outlet, and I wanted a space to talk about something I was incredibly passionate about, which was making health accessible, making wellness, like breaking it down, because there was great fortune in making wellness really complicated and having us jump through hoops and figuring out, back when the Atkins diet was a thing, and like, do I eat nothing but protein? Are carbs the devil? Should I never eat sugar again? And basically just taking the mystiques and the myths out of wellness and sharing really practical, grounded tips by interviewing people who, as I said, did something better than we do, who knew something more than we do, and created an interview show based around that concept. But Sherry, in truth, if I'm being really honest with myself, 10 years ago me, I was pretty fixated on some concept of physical perfection. And wellness to me actually meant fat loss, but I called it wellness. Like, I put this noble label on it. And really what I was trying to do the entire time, whether I was perfectly aware of it or not, was I was trying to hack my body into looking the way that I thought it was supposed to look. So my intentions were good, but my internal motivations, once I really dug deep, were
Mm.
kind of messed up. Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really curious. I mean, when did you kind of discover that shift in you?
Well, as per usual, I didn't until I sort of ran into the proverbial wall. So it took me sort of breaking in that process to realize what I was actually doing. So I chronicle this journey on the air because I was like, you guys, it's really simple. We just need to move our bodies and we need to eat well. And frankly, there's a lot of truth in that, Sherry. There's definitely a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
I still live that today. But I kind of broke because I was trying, like I said, I was coming from the wrong place of motivation. And I became really susceptible to like whatever anyone who looked a certain way said, I would try. And it's sort of embarrassing now. I can't believe it. Like I have a hard time relating to me 10 years ago. But if they
Mm.
said it, if they said this supplement is everything, I took it. If they said this is what you need to do, you can never eat sugar again, then I thought, oh, I'll try that. And then I crashed and burned because frankly, Sherry, I like sugar. like I'm not a sugar hound or anything, but like I
Mm-hmm.
created a really moralized relationship with my
Mm.
food and I demonized certain foods. You know, they had me scared to eat a whole banana. A banana,
What?
Sherry. So
Yeah.
I, I really developed a rather disordered relationship with my body and with food, and it started backfiring on me. And then I started talking about that. So several years into my show, I started sharing that. And that's when I developed a really personal relationship with my audience because it wasn't all shiny and perfect and just do this and everything will be grand. It was, oh, maybe there's a little bit more here worth unpacking.
But I think a lot of women are still kind of going through that and having, because remember that really famous monologue in Barbie? Remember
Yes.
that?
I was thinking
She
about that
ta
this morning.
oh,
Hmm.
she was talking about how you're supposed to like be healthy, but really you want to be thin, but you're not supposed to talk about it. I think it's that paradox that we're still living in.
We're not, we're definitely living in that.
Yeah.
I think what the important difference is, though, is that we are now calling it what it is. We are now talking about it. We are now dragging it into the light. And 20 years ago, that was not happening. 20 years ago, we were told to become as small as possible. I don't think those messages have stopped, Sherry. I don't think the demand for our aesthetic perfection in some regard, I don't think that has stopped. I don't think the demand for youth has stopped, like forever youth. I don't think that has stopped. I don't think the expectations set for women have even diminished. But the
Hmm.
difference is, I think that our generations, these generations now,
Hmm.
for the first time, can opt in or out. We
Hmm.
have enough information to opt in or opt out of that narrative and those stories and those expectations that are created by someone other than us. And that's what's new.
Oh, I love that. And this may seem like a bit of a tangent, but you were talking about how you tried everything. I just wanted to know, like, what's the craziest thing you have actually
Oh,
tried?
jeez. Jeez. Oh Lord. Well, I can't I run on carbs. Like I love a carbohydrate. And so the dumbest thing I ever did was go completely against my predilection and try to be because I'm a vegetarian by preference. I just don't care for meat. I never have. I don't recommend it. I don't espouse that as a belief because I actually think it's harder to be super healthy and be a vegetarian. That's a controversial statement for some, but I actually think it's a bit more of a challenge. I just don't prefer it.
Mm.
And trying to be a high protein vegetarian
Ooh.
was 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 one of the dumbest things I think I have ever done. The other thing that I did, Sherry, that I don't do it all anymore. Well, I started binge eating, and I'll tell you why. In case anyone's suffering from this now, in case they have episodes where they feel that the food is controlling them, I really want anyone in that situation to listen very closely, because when you're in that situation, just like any addiction or habit that has control over you, it feels like it does, that is not about food. And this deprivation, this state of deprivation that women are constantly putting themselves in, and not wanting to experience the full anything, whether it's food or relationships, or like, God forbid we prioritize like what feels good to us, what feels right to us, what we want. Like, any form of deprivation is going to eventually snap back. Now, when you have a binge eating disorder, it's very literal. It's like you deprive, you deprive, you deprive, and then the snapback is ugly. But I actually think that it's a great metaphor, to be honest. And I'm grateful for the experience because I can see the truth in it, which is whenever we starve ourselves of the things that we want, whether it's joy or chocolate or friendship and community, whenever we starve ourselves from those things, we can expect rather a snap back. That is not weakness. That is physics.
So, how long ago have you kind of noticed that, and then you have to maintain that balance? Because it really takes so much of a self-awareness to know what you actually need, even if it's contradictory to, whatever healthy, right? When was the moment that you discovered that, okay, I have to have that awareness and have that balance, like allowed myself to have what I want?
Well, part of that is the plague of having your own podcast. Right. So that's a blessing and a curse, because I am having this journey on the air. When I started being honest about where I was and what I was going through, that attracted resources to me. It attracted conversations to me. It opened me up to bringing people into my community and on the air who helped me see and
Yeah.
and inspired conversations that lived in the light instead of in the darkness. So that happened. But also, on a practical level, I'm an athlete. So I run my own business. I'm a mom. I am a spouse, and I actually happen to like my husband a lot. So like he's important to me. And then I'm also an athlete, and I compete in triathlon for
Oh my
fun.
goodness.
I know it's disgusting. I know. But my body was screaming, it was like, help me. And my body wanted to work with me. My body didn't want to be my enemy anymore. And so I think a couple of real truths are the answer to your question. A couple of truths that were sort of revealed to me. And it's very easy to look back and describe these as though they were just clean epiphanies that happened, in the middle of the night, and I woke up and it was a new day. No, like, this stuff is hard, and like unraveling your programming is hard, and looking at yourself differently is hard. And I went through I think it's actually useful to first share with you some of the false flags. Like, I went through this body positivity thing, and I was like, you know what? I am so happy for whatever works for anybody else. Like, that's none of my business. But I'm not going to look at myself every day and be like, I love me. Like, like, this is beautiful. Like, that just didn't resonate with me, and it never will. So I latched on to body neutrality. And I just stopped making such a big damn deal about my appearance. Like, I stopped looking all the time. I stopped evaluating all the time. I just let it be. With food, I didn't count a macro. I didn't count a calorie. I just started really leaning in to myself and going, what do I actually want in this moment? And I just allowed, instead of fighting all the time. So that was a big part of my piece, was trusting myself again and dialing into my own inner voice, for lack of a better way to say that, and just like really asking myself what I wanted, and being intentional about my choices, because so often our coping mechanisms that feel like they're in charge of us, I call them the over unders, whether we're over drinking, overeating, under
Mm,
eating, over
mm,
shopping, the overs we do in relationship, the under communicating we do. So those coping mechanisms,
mm,
those are there to drown out your inner voice. Those are there to override your intuition. And a
mm.
really funny thing happens when you lean in and you start asking yourself questions and you sit with yourself and you ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need? What am I needing right now? It's probably not that chocolate cake. It's probably that I need to have this conversation that I've been avoiding. That type
Mm.
of awareness, Sherry, can really break apart old patterns that frustrate you. And that might sound too meta, but it has the happy virtue of being true.
Absolutely. And you did mention that it's really difficult to break that programming. And I have to say, growing up, I was trained not to be a professional ballerina, but be, ballerina, but I still put on like performances, for the local community. But I had this like body image for myself that I had to stay very thin.
Yes.
And it wasn't until when I hit 40 that I understood, oh, strength training is actually really important. And that never occurred to me to actually have muscle on my arms or on my back. Like I had no idea what that feels like to even like work out my back because I don't know where my muscles are. But it's almost like it has to have that that kind of a incident or a situation that kind of pushes you to kind of, oh, I really need this and let me really try. But I think for a lot of women specifically, that body image is still very difficult for them, right? Do you have any advice for women? Just how do they overcome that? Because I think sometimes we do need a bit of a push.
Yeah. I have a couple of frameworks that work for me. And so maybe one of these will land with somebody. And the first one is I'm a little older than you. So I'm a lot older than you. So let me let me channel your big sister here for a minute. I want to big
Okay.
sister everybody for a minute.
Okay.
What else are we here for? I look at my career. I've managed to accomplish some things. How much more would I have created? How many more risks would I have taken if I had not been obsessed with the way that I look, which doesn't hit me right. I don't think that's quite what it was, but I'll just use shorthand and say that I was demanding perfection of myself on a physical level. So call it whatever you want, which is absurd, but also what a terrible energy suck. Like, what a way to spend your 20s. What a way to spend your 30s. By God, we're not doing this in our 40s. We are not doing this. We are here for so much more. We're so smart. Like, women are particularly capable of creating bridges, of working collaboratively, of solving problems, of thinking creatively about things that need to be thought of differently, and making stuff happen. And we're out here handicapping ourselves by worrying about the piece of skin we can pinch. Like when you really zoom out, Sherry, it's insane. What a terrible squandering of resources. What a terrible squandering of resources. The power that women have, and the power that we have when we work together, and the power that we have when we uplift one another, and the power that we have when we dial in to our own gifts. It's honestly like, it gives me chills to even talk about it. As you can tell, I'm slightly passionate about this topic. And I think that, like, again, to get a little meta on you, I think that people know that, and that this is a really brilliant way to keep women super distracted and keep us quite small and not leaning into our own capabilities. So there's that. Okay. So the shorthand version of that is, if I ever find myself in that loop, I'm like, what else am I here for? Great.
Mm,
Body neutrality, check the box. I have a body. I don't have to love it. I definitely don't need to spend energy on hating it. I have a body. That box is checked. What else am I here for? Do I have anything else to offer the world? Do I have anything else to offer just today? And that, I'll tell you what, that can snap me out of a little rut pretty quickly.
Mm.
But there's a kinder, gentler way also. And there are two ways that I like to look at this. And they are to zoom forward or to zoom backward in time. And so whichever one resonates with you, I'll share both and I'll try to be brief. But I think it's useful sometimes for women to picture like 4-year-old, maybe 6-year-old them. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Sherry gets to have a conversation with 6-year-old Sherry. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
And you are leaning down and you are putting your hands on her cheeks. Imagine saying to her, Sherry, this life is amazing. It's
Mm.
brutal and it's beautiful. It's brutal. And you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. But honey, you need to stay really small because the most important thing about you, little Sherry, is how you look. I mean, imagine. Like it hurts my heart to even share that
Yeah.
anecdote with you. Nobody would do that.
Mm.
But we treat ourselves so differently than we treat others that I think it's useful to have a conversation with 6-year-old us because it changes the language. It inspires us to want to develop the best in us instead of berate the pieces of us that we think are falling short. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm okay. So what else are we here for? And also talking to the little you. And I love that.
Convert the feelings you're having into a conversation with younger you. You can sort yourself out pretty quickly. And there's a third and final, and that is the zoom forward in time. And this I recommend for people who they want to do something, but they're scared that they're scared of the things we're scared of. They're scared of rejection. They're scared of falling short. They're scared of people seeing them fall short. They're scared of taking a risk. They're scared of leaving something stable to do something that lights them up. All of the fears that we are wired to have as humans. When you find yourself in that situation, and or if you are hiding yourself, like here, it's summer where I am, and there are women who won't wear a swimming costume at the beach. They don't want to show up in a bathing suit. And that is the type of woman I want to grab by the shoulders and be like, okay, it's time to have a conversation with 86-year-old you. Okay. Because 86-year-old you, she's seen a lot. She's a little
Hmm.
grumpy. Okay. She's 86. Okay. And what is she going to tell you? Because 86-year-old me is going to be like, get outside, you stupid, beautiful thing. Like, take your 40-year-old self outside
Mm.
and you get out there and you enjoy that body that you have. You enjoy that community that you have. You enjoy the people in your life that you love and go do the thing. Because one day you're going to be 86 and you will not have those opportunities anymore. And the truth is she's right. And a little pep talk from 86-year-old you can get you right on out of that rut.
Oh my goodness. I'm definitely going to remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we live most of our lives thinking that our body's going to stay like this and then we're going to be as healthy. We're going to run, we're going to walk. And this is, just the common, that's just the norm. But no, can't take that for granted.
Well, Sherry,
Um,
everybody's had that experience where they're like, "Oh, I thought I was so fat." Like God forbid, right? I thought I was so fat or I thought I was so hideous. And they look back at pictures of themselves 10 years ago and they're like,
yeah,
"Oh my God, it was adorable."
I
Like,
know.
what was I thinking?
I know.
Everybody has an experience like that, right? And where do you think you're going to be 10 years from now? You're going to be like, I was such an idiot. I was so, I was so young and so full of life and so beautiful in my youth. And just because youth is beautiful and we don't see what we have when we have it. So 86-year-old you might be a good reminder of what we have when we have it.
I love it. And I have to say, because the way I connected with you is definitely because you're so open about helping other women. And like you said, on your podcast, you walk through the entire wellness journey, and that's how you attract women. And I think we are actually very, hungry for this kind of supportive system. And I do think that's part of the wellness category that's so attractive and that's actually really great for women now. What do you think wellness need? And in 2025, when AI and ChatGPT is like a tool for everyone, like what do we now need for wellness?
Yeah. Community. And I live in America, and America is one of the most individualistic societies in the world. You know that. You've spent time here. Everything is me, me, me. What's good for me? People vote
Mm,
according to what's good for them. Like there's much less emphasis in the West on collectivism than there is in the East, if we're speaking in broad terms. In America, you can multiply that times 100. We're groomed that way. Like it's in our DNA. The issue with that when it comes to women particularly, you can add on then a layer of being programmed for competition. You can add on to that a layer of competing for resources.
ah,
And that makes sense. Like, of course we
mm,
would feel that way. Of course that is our lived experience. There were limited resources, whether it's money or men or jobs that would hire women. Like the pool of resources for women
mm-hmm.
was limited by all sorts of constraining factors. And it is our responsibility now, while we are just dripping in privilege, we can start a business in 24 hours for free. Like we live in a world
Mm,
where we can start a business in 24 hours for free.
yeah,
We live in a world where women can do whatever they want. Like, well, sorta.
almost.
Don't get me started. Yeah. Yeah. Put a pin in that. But truly, we just live in unprecedented times in every way, shape, and form. It is our responsibility to blow up some of those limiting frameworks of the past and really lean into amplifying and supporting other women. And if we want to, we should be doing it for selfish purposes. And I'll tell you what I mean. It is
Mm,
great for us. We will live longer, the data show. We will live longer. We will have healthier lives. We will enjoy relationship in every capacity more. We will laugh more. We will be healthier if we have community, a sense of belonging. We are wired to belong, and an enormous amount of our emptiness now, I believe, and also there's a lot of data that shows this, comes from the fact that we are moving really far away from true communion. So I'm
mm,
talking in person, I'm talking coffee dates, I'm talking arranging dinners with women you barely know. I'm talking about
mm.
taking risks of being socially rejected in an effort to create as much community and sisterhood as you can around you. And then it's not always in person. That's not always practical, but creating communities, I think, is so singularly powerful. And there are so many more ways to do that now. I think it is the unspoken of component in wellness. In fact, I think it's quite minimized in wellness, which came to wellness is 360 degrees, but we often see it portrayed as about 45 degrees in the
Mm.
zeitgeist.
Right. So you mentioned the importance of community and obviously wellness. We talk about food, we talk about diet, we talk about exercise. What else are there that's actually in wellness? I mean, I know there meditation, breath work, but what else?
Yeah, I'm not good at that. You're right. You are 100% right. But let me give you the lame woman's guide to wellness. Something that I think that warrants distinction is I think we've put an enormous amount of emphasis on exercise. I also happen to be someone who really believes in the power of exercise, and I engage in some way at least 5 times a week in some form of exercise. There is a really important distinction that we have muddied over the past generations, and that is the difference between movement and
Hmm.
exercise. We leave movement out of the wellness conversation to our detriment, and I'll tell you what I mean.
Mm.
We were not designed to go to a gym and lift heavy things for an hour and a half. Like that's just That's not in our DNA. That did not happen. It's not in our genetic code. Okay. Your great grandparents never stepped foot in a gym. Okay? It didn't happen. We have conflated these two things, and I want to really pull them apart because I find it useful in how you think about what you do on a day-to-day level. So I find this useful on a really practical level. You were absolutely designed for movement. Generations before us didn't think about this because they didn't have a choice. Movement is what we were designed for. It's how our bodies are made. We were not made to be sedentary and to sit all day. And the danger in conflating these two things is we don't take a leisurely walk because it won't make us a size smaller a month later. Like we reduce our movement and the things that our bodies are naturally designed to do, whether it's work in your garden or dance in your kitchen or go for a walk or, walk through a forest. Because when we conflate movement and exercise, exercise is something that you do for a specific outcome. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I said that we're not designed to spend time in a gym. I spend time in a gym. I just mean it's not as baked into our DNA. We, in this modern day, of course, we have to be super intentional about our exercise and about our training because our lifestyle is so different than it was generations ago, right? So we have to be super intentional about it to make it happen. Whereas generations ago, they absolutely didn't. It was baked in. Mm-hmm. The point that I want to leave you with, and I'm afraid I've made this sound complicated, is I wish that women could lean into their body's natural inclination to move, to stand up, to walk around, to dance, to get in the pool or a body of water and just move and just completely separate that from the, I need to work out. I need to exercise, or the berating of not exercising for 3 days in a row or 3 months in a row or 3 years in a row. So anyone who feels like that, they're in that shame cycle, if you will.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Start with daily movement that is not tied to an outcome. It just gets you back in your body. It has nothing to do with your workout. It has nothing to do with joining CrossFit. It is doing yoga. It is walking. It is, like I said, gardening or swimming or something. And it is designed to reconnect your head to your body, if you will, because so many of us sort of sever the two. Do you know what I mean? We're just, the body is just this thing that gets us around that we hate or that we're mad at a lot. And I think for women particularly, to feel sensual, to feel whole, and to start caring about ourselves again, I think it's really important to get back in our bodies. So on a practical level, and then I'll wrap it up. But on a practical level, this for me is I just go for a walk every morning. And it's usually about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, it's under an hour because it's essentially the same loop. But I go out in the morning light early so that I can get some of that morning light and I can move my body. And I'm not counting my flipping steps, Sherry. I don't have a weighted vest on. I'm not doing arm, I am just outside to be a human being. And then my training and my exercise come later.
I think you mentioned that word, that phrase, shame cycle, and it's so profound and so confusing because what you just said is when we do a lot of things like exercising, we had to have an outcome. We think that needs to have an outcome so it's productive. Or when we do meditation, it needs to be in this perfect little room where you have perfect, Lululemon outfits on. I love
exactly.
Lululemon, but you know what I mean? And it has to be this checklist. And it's almost put us in this kind of performative mode where if we don't do them, we feel ashamed. We feel like, ooh, I'm guilty. I'm not productive today. Why is it that we're so wrapped up in shame, even when we're doing something supposed to be really good for us?
Okay, this is not fair but I'm going to ask you
Mhm.
to answer that first. Sherry,
Okay.
why do you think that is?
Oh my goodness. I really thought about this for a very long time. And honestly, I don't know because I always feel like I feel great. I did all this exercise. I feel great. But the next day, if I don't do that exercise in the amount of time that I set for myself, then I feel like, oh, I feel so ashamed. It's almost like I have to feel like I am productive in order to be worthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many things there. There's a lot of like what we are taught our value is. Like there's all sorts of
Mm,
stuff there. But there are two things that really leap out at me. It took me about 35 years to untangle my productivity from my worth. And
mm.
I wouldn't say that's a knot that's been fully undone. I would not say that. I definitely feel at my highest and best use when I'm being highly productive, but I'm not leaning on that for my willingness to care about myself. I'm not leaning on that as to whether I deserve a treat of some kind or not. Like whether it's deserve time off, whether it's deserve a damn nap, whether it's deserve a vacation or, a glass of red wine. Like I don't tie this reward. It's no longer about earning treats of any kind with me because I understand intellectually, even if I don't live it out every day of my life, we're not here for perfect. Okay. We are works in progress. But I understand intellectually that my productivity does not actually define my self-worth. Yes, it's the most aligned feeling for me. I feel the
Mm,
most myself when I'm accomplishing something that feels good in my body. That hits very different than I need to do this or I'm a failure. I need to do this or I can't take up space. I need to do this or I don't deserve the holiday. And it's just a very different energy. So
mm,
I'll start there with dismantling your productivity from
mm,
validation.
mm.
That's one thing. The second thing is we have been taught, and tell me if this resonates with you, but we have been taught that success and failure are a binary scale. And I almost picture it like we call them seesaws. What do you call a seesaw? Sometimes some people call them a teeter-totter. Those
Mm.
things on a playground that you sit
Yeah.
on and one
Seesaw.
goes
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have been taught that if you're succeeding, then
Mm,
you're not failing. If you are
mm,
failing, then you are not succeeding. And Sherry, that is nonsense. This is not a binary. This is not a yes or a no. This is not a success or a failure. The truth is, picture instead, get rid of your seesaw in your mind and
mm,
picture instead a spiral. And it's emanating up, 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 up. It's iterating, iterating, iterating. The truth is that the path that we're on, you don't get success and accomplishment
mm,
without failures, without setbacks. And I hate how trite that sounds
mm,
because it's like, oh, fail fast, fail frequently, fail fast. The truth is, think about anything you've ever done that was hard.
mm,
Okay.
mhm.
Was it a bed of roses that was handed to you, or did you have to trip over a few objects in your pursuit of excellence?
Yeah, absolutely. Climb over the mountain to get that.
I mean, I joked with you that I happen
Mm,
to be married. Like one of my competing priorities is that I'm
mm.
married to someone that I actually care for. And I joke about that because like I want to show up for him. I want to be
Yeah.
in that relationship. Well, I want to be my best in that relationship is what I mean to say. Well, guess what? I had a failed marriage in my youth. And
Mm,
that was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my entire life because that did
mm,
not align. The failure of that, getting a divorce, did not align with my identity at all. Like
mm,
it was
mm,
very, very, very difficult. Guess what? I am a much better wife because of that experience. Like I'm much better in my partnership than
mhm,
I ever would have been with that profound, messy, painful failure. So I just would challenge us to stop creating this yes, no, failing, not failing. If I'm succeeding, then I am profoundly not failing. That is such bunk. We are iterating, 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 and it is impossible to ever fall all the way back to zero because every single thing that you survived taught you something. And I think that binary makes us feel like if I don't show up for 3 workouts, I'm going to die. Like I have failed. I think that when we live in that binary, we almost feel like we're just completely worthless. We've fallen off. We completely aren't who we thought we were. Why am I like this? Why does this always happen? And we spend time in that shame cycle. It has no place in this conversation. None. None. The only question is, okay, what are you doing next? That's the only question.
Yeah. And I want to share this with you because you talked about your previous experience in marriage, and I'm in the same boat. I got married, had 7 years of marriage, and it did not work because I didn't even know who I was. And then I had to discover who the heck I am, and it's still a work in progress, but definitely a better mom. I'm a better partner. And actually, just this morning, I went to court because I'm still in the custody battle. And of course, it's a long process. And you know what?
So sorry.
In the very beginning, I really see that as failure. Me going to court, it just like I just could not understand how could I go to court? I didn't do anything wrong. And I see myself like, how could that happen? And then how do I win? But then like, how do I take care of my kid? It's a lot of that, but it's that binary state that you're talking about. But now I choose to, go and be proud of myself. And that's the only feeling that I want, is just to feel proud of myself, not to win, but to be proud of myself. Yeah.
You just gave me goosebumps all over my entire body. First of all, I'm very sorry that you're dealing with that. I wish you the absolute best outcome for the 3 of you, whatever will become the best outcome. But I'm really sorry that you're going through that. And I'm so impressed that you see the lessons in it already. And by the way, some stuff sucks. Like it sucks.
It sucks so bad.
Yeah. And 20 years from now, you're not going to be like, well, thank God I went through hell. Like that's
No.
not, we're not here to pretend. We're not here for like toxic positivity where everything's fine. It's not fun if you survive it. It's a lesson if you survive it. And you will survive this, and you will come out stronger, and you will come out better on the other end because you already are witnessing that evolution in yourself now. But I don't want to ever pretend like this is all beds of roses. It sucks. Like it's terrible that you're having that experience. There's a tool that I use in situations that truly suck and that really feel out of your control because so much of it is. And this framework, I don't know who developed it, and I hate that because I would love very much to give credit where credit's due. But this is something that I teach, and so picture us workshopping this in a longer environment. But I'm still going to leave the framework with you because it might help, and that is the CIA model. That is control, influence, and accept and adapt. Okay. And sometimes we face stuff that we're not in control of. It's happening to us. It can be anything from a global pandemic to getting terminated at work to facing a custody battle or a diagnosis. Okay. And in those situations, I find it so, so useful to say, okay, what can I control? What can I control versus where must I accept that these things are happening and adapt accordingly? Okay. I went to the 2 extremes. What do I actually have control over? And then the far polar opposite of that is what must I accept and adapt to? And in between there is this I, which is where do I have influence? I don't have control. And I'm not ready to just totally accept it I actually have influence. Where do I have influence. And
Mm.
so in a situation, we'll just do a crumbling relationship, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We can't control the other person. We can't control the words that come out of their mouth. We can't
Mm.
control their perceptions of us. We can't control how much their inner child is in charge of them at any given moment. We can't control anything.
Yep.
There are some things we have to accept and adapt, some, and there are so many things that we can influence, and there are many things in our own selves that we can control. So we can control the words that come out of our mouth. We can control what we do when the wrong words come out of our mouth, like how we handle that. We can control where we're accountable. We can control where and when to set our ego aside and actually lean into what we know is the right thing to do, ego aside. We can control our behaviors, our actions, and the way we respond. We sometimes have to accept and adapt our lack of control over that other person. We have to accept and
Mhm.
adapt circumstances that are being imposed on us. In between there, we have an enormous amount of influence. The way we
Mm.
show up, the way we communicate, the way we respond to when people communicate to us from a place that we do not feel okay, the boundaries that we set, the boundaries that we enforce. I just find that when things feel like they are happening to me, it's
Mm.
extremely useful to start parsing out which part of this is actually happening,
Mm.
and then which parts of this can I actually influence and or control. We tend to have so much less control than we think we do, and we tend to have so much more influence than we
Mm.
think that we do. We're not
Mm.
just an air mattress bobbing along the top of a raging sea. Like we actually have an oar.
Mm.
And there are many more things that we can influence than we can necessarily control in situations like that. I don't know if that's of use to you. I have
Mm.
found it to be useful
Yeah.
to me. Something to think about.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Really love that. And I think in, so many years of this journey, me going to court, honestly, it taught me what I absolutely cannot control. Absolutely cannot control. And also taught me what I needed to accept. And that took
Yeah.
a while. But I think the middle ground, the influence, that's really where the wisdom comes from. And it's knowing that what I can do for myself. And I like what you said because that reminds me, I can tell myself, well, I cannot control what he just said, but I can control my reaction or what I wanted to do to celebrate, to fuel my energy after court. And I think that's not just me and influencing others, but also me influencing myself as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That is growth. I mean, that is growth.
Mm.
And Sherry, this is look, I'm not qualified to give relationship advice. I am just sharing experience friend to friend here, okay?
Yeah.
Not as a professional. And I'll just say this, one thing that I see a lot in I'm saying women just because those are who I'm having the conversations with. I'm
Hmm.
not sure that this is a gendered statement, but after or in the midst of a failed relationship, we tend to still, whether we do it consciously or not, we
Mm.
still want some kind of validation from the other person. And what I mean by that is we want them just to own what they did. We want them to
Say sorry.
acknowledge their mistake. We want them to apologize for a thing.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
want them to be like, okay, you were right. Or in micro
Mm, mm,
moments,
mm,
we want to be like, you're the reason I needed to bring his backpack to school. Like, you understand, like, we want, like, in these micro moments and macro moments, we just want the other person to own their stuff.
mm,
And every time we need that, we are giving a little tiny piece of our power away. And that is really unfair. I don't make the
yeah.
rules. It's really unfair and it's really difficult. But when we see that, it can
Mm,
be really life shifting
yeah.
because we are almost never, ever, ever going to get that layer of accountability, that moment of, you're right, you're correct, I'm the problem. We're like
Yeah.
never getting that.
Nope.
Ironically, the few times that does happen in life, it's typically when you don't need it and aren't seeking it
Yeah.
anymore. That's when it
Mm,
happens.
right.
Yeah. But I just want to highlight that for any woman going through this is every time you just need him to see that he's the problem, or you were right about the thing, or he hurt you, you are handing over your happiness to somebody else. And I'm really sorry, because it sucks. It's hard, but it's worth paying attention to.
Agreed. And I think when I was younger, I used the term closure. It's like, I
Mm,
need closure.
How'd that go?
But but what I really wanted at the time was you tell me that you're sorry.
Mhm.
Therefore I get closure. But no, you're never gonna get it because yeah, it sucks, but accept that. But that's actually, I think it's really freeing to accept that because the faster you realize that, the faster you can just be like, all right,
Yep.
let me move on and focus on myself.
Yep. And let's be small-minded for just a minute. We can still dabble. We're not perfect. We're not robots. Let me be
Yeah.
small-minded for a minute. What
Mm.
beautiful, like, revenge is a strong word, okay? But like what a beautiful balancing of scales it is for you to just go on and live your best life. Like,
Mm.
that's pretty sweet. And that represents itself. You find that you don't need closure quite as much when you're out there living your best life, taking care of yourself, actually liking your own company and
Mm.
enjoying life and not leaving anything open for other people to decide for you. And I want to say I have a really good relationship with my ex. We did not in the
Mm.
first 3 years. The first 3 years are just anyone who can get through those 3 years like
Yeah.
with smiles on their faces, then I don't know why you're getting a divorce. Like I don't know how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to tell you and anyone who might want to know that that's also possible. Everybody can evolve. I have a great relationship with what I call my practice marriage. I know that's so rude. But well, I only have one husband, so I don't like
Yeah,
calling
yeah.
somebody else my ex-husband because
Mm.
it gives him a status
Yep.
that I don't think is appropriate. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nothing against him. It's just I have one husband. He's permanent.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't want to convey that title on anyone else. But anyway, that's just me being a weirdo. But I want to say that there's room for everybody to evolve here. I just find that it can be incredibly rewarding and sometimes even speed up the healing process when we choose to focus on our own healing and we don't try to outsource that to the person who wronged us. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. Not to outsource that to the person who wronged us. And actually, I think this is a really good place to ask you this question. My quest in finding what soft power means to different women. And I loved our conversation. I felt like I've been in this coaching session with you. When you hear the term soft power, how do you define that?
Ah, Sherry, this is what's so lovely about you. Like to me, you represent soft power. Um, and I find that so admirable. I feel quite loud. To me, I actually have to dig a bit deeper to truly answer that question. And the most sincere answer that I can give you is that my intuition, that leaning in to that voice that we all are born with, but a lot of us spend half our lives trying to drown it out through other things or with other
Mm-hmm.
things. Being really intentional about my choices is soft power to me. And what I think is so incredibly powerful and freeing about that is I don't mean I make the right choices all the time. I don't even mean I make
Yeah.
the right choices 90% of the time. Sherry, I make the wrong choice all the time. But I'm going to use a stupid example because it paints a picture easily. Let's say that you have demonized dessert in your life. You have demonized savory treats in your life. When you stop doing that, you stop moralizing things like that aren't moral issues, and you say, I am going to eat this creme brulee because it is so delicious and I love it and it makes me so happy. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
savor every moment of it because yum. Or let's say you're feeling emotional or you're about to start your period and you're just like
Mm-hmm.
want to eat everything in the house. Okay. Even on those days, which I have once a month,
Ooh.
That's not binge eating because I'm not out of control. I say, oh my goodness, I am clearly 3 days away from starting my cycle because I'm eating everything in the house. And I say the thing, I'm like super intentional about it. When you're intentional about it,
Mm.
you're driving. So
Ooh.
I just encourage you to start asking yourself really silly questions to practice using your intuition. Stand in your closet or facing your closet and ask yourself what you want to wear that day, not because it's a consequential decision, not because it will change the course of history, but because you're giving your still small voice opportunities to speak up. Go on a walk and ask your inner voice whether you want to turn right or left.
Mm.
As you're making a meal, ask yourself what you want. If you're in relationship, ask yourself, how do I feel in this relationship? Does this person actually make me feel good, or are they just lighting up my dopamine receptors? Because
Ooh.
yeah,
Mm.
that's a big one.
That's a
That's a big one. Listen, our brains aren't here to make us feel good. Our brains love a pattern. So if you come from a history of being treated poorly, you're going to find yourself in relationship where you are made to feel poorly because it is familiar. Like that has nothing to do with whether it's good for you or not. So
Mm-mm-mm.
so yeah, starting small and asking yourselves, do I like this? Am I enjoying this? Does this taste good? What do I want? How do I want to spend an hour of free time? Leaning into our intuition and being intentional about our choices, whether they're great choices or just okay choices. Being in the driver's seat, that
Mm.
is soft power to me.
Mm. I absolutely love that. And I think in this entire conversation, when you talked about how success and failure, it's not just, oh, I have success, then I don't have failures, is actually you need to have both. And it's like that is a tornado. I think that was the visual. And to me, that is like living in that, knowing that both can exist at the same time. To me, that's very soft power because soft and power is usually this contrasting idea, but they're actually something that you can have. And both are equally important, but you need to tap into either power whenever you need. And to me, I feel like you lived in soft power in every decision that you make.
Mm. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate that you're calling attention to our soft power. If we do nothing more than inspire women to ask themselves, in what ways am I powerful? And where do I want to amplify my power? Another way to look at that is, what gifts do I have that I want to amplify? That is a beautiful place to start.
Mm. Ella, I feel like after this conversation, I'm just so awake now. You like really fueled me and you so energized me. After having a day I had today, honestly, I was like, this
Oh,
morning,
Sherry.
yeah, honestly, it sucked. It was hard. It was 3 hours. And I got home, I'm like, ah. And thank goodness I'm like, okay, I'm very lucky I get to talk to Ella today. And I just feel so great. Thank you so much for being so supportive and so generous. And I think it's so rare. And like you said, I don't know why women used to think that we have to compete. And I don't know, like I don't actually understand where that come from. But yes, when you mentioned it, yes, I, used to feel jealous when I see other girls have what I want to have. And that jealousy, becomes competition. But now I'm like really trying to understand, it's like, why am I jealous? Is this something that, I need to start to really heal because I don't feel I'm worthy enough for my inner child? But I think it's that creating that community and start helping other women and connect with other women. And I think that's what you're doing for many years. And thank you so much for doing that.
It is my pleasure. And that feeling that we both have right now, that feeling of fullness,
Mm,
that is community. And that's what I want to encourage in everyone else. And you're creating a community here, and I'm creating a community in On Air with Ella. And that is one of the things that I'm so addicted to, is the sisterhood of that.
yeah.
And I just want to say that
Mm,
one of the best ways to exercise this muscle, because that muscle can start pretty small in most of us, is go amplify somebody today. Go speak another woman's name in a room full of opportunity. Go refer somebody to a woman that you know. Go on somebody's post and comment on it and like it or share
yeah.
it. Or, there are so many low hanging fruit ways to do this, but just
Mm,
practice that muscle a little bit, and you'll be so
mm.
surprised at the women that you can draw toward you.
Absolutely. I'll do that right away. That's right. What you said, it's low-hanging fruit. It's actually really easy, but you just
Mhm.
have to practice. Thank you so much, Ella. I am beyond grateful that you joined me today.
Sherry, thank you for sharing your audience with me. It means a lot.